Hi everyone, Emily here again. This is part 2 of how to complete the IRIPs using mail merge. When we last left the video, the last video, we had saved the merged IRIP. I'm going to kind of open that back up to remind you what it looked like, talk about the pieces that need to go with the IRIP, and then we will talk about what to do for middle of the year and end of the year, just so that you know. So we saved it as BOY, or we were about to save it as BOY for beginning of the year, the teacher's name that I just happened to use for my configure of, and then IRIPs. I'm going to open that document back up just so you can see what it looked like and what you need to do with it. We talked really briefly about making sure that you input the additional parts. That would be the classroom observation and assessment data, as well as the summary of student strengths and needs. And you can see that is under the other factors. If there were any concerns by the parent, obviously that's noted. Also, if the parent didn't sign, didn't respond, that would be noted in this area as well. Again, once you're finished with your IRIP, with one IRIP, the next page, which would be page 5 on this, page 4 on this document, you'll see that if you had more data, if you had more than one IRIP, then you would have the second IRIP here. And again, you would go through, you would fill in the data that you needed to, the other factors, summarizing strengths, areas of need, and concerns, and then you would have the second IRIP. Once you're finished with those, you're going to, you obviously save them with a title that makes sense to you, but then you would print them as well. So again, pretty easy to do, print, and then print the number of pages you need to. I'm going to save this and then exit. With this document, that's not the end of the IRIP document. If you remember from last year's IRIPs, we need an intervention page as well. You are intervening with your Tier 1 instruction, so your small group instruction that you're doing during literacy block, the strategies that you're using during whole group, that's how you're intervening during the literacy block. That's not just to say that you're differentiating your strategies that you're using, but small group instruction is a way that you're differentiating your Tier 1 instruction. Small group is Tier 1 instruction. However, those students that have IRIPs need additional intervention pieces. Those are the Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention pieces, which are time outside of your literacy block. That means then that you need to have an additional page to discuss what that intervention looks like. Because the grade level teams are likely doing similar interventions, whether it's the title interventionists and the paras that are doing interventions, or whether it's the grade level team that's doing interventions within their classroom during what I've heard coined as reading cafe, or that special, I think Cubs time was one of the times that I've heard, but basically that extra intervention block time. You will need to attach an additional page to the IRIPs. These, however, are in a folder in each grade level called Intervention and Additional Support Pages. If you click on them, you'll see that there are 4 different options. Please feel free to copy and paste and add extra pages if you feel like I've missed one out. But basically, you have a page for phonemic awareness and phonics, or phonological awareness and phonics intervention, one that incorporates all 3, phonological awareness, phonics and fluency, just phonics and fluency, and then vocabulary comprehension and fluency. What you will need to do, and again this will be decided on a school-based level, is either your title interventionist and their team will create a page for each one of these, or input information to make sure that these are complete, or your grade level team will do that. So either this folder, Intervention and Additional Support Pages, will be with all of your grade levels, or it will be specifically in your grade level. That being said, let's take a look at one of them. I will pull up the Phonological Awareness Phonics support page. You'll see what you need to, either your title interventionist or your team needs to input, and then you'll see that you're printing out these pages and attaching them to the IRIPs for each child. So you can see that it's similar to the layout of the IRIP. You have a column for beginning of year, middle of year, end of year. But this is talking about that intervention piece, that time outside of your literacy block. You can see you need the instructor who's going to provide that intervention. Which instructional practices are going to be embedded into that intervention. You'll see that these are those checkboxes again, and again these are the exact same instructional practices from your IRIPs, from the K-3 instructional practices, which were on your IRIPs. Frequency and duration. How is progress monitor going to be measured? Frequency and by whom? And then you have some information about reviewing, and this is where you indicate whether or not an IRIP has been discontinued or continued. So at the review date for each benchmark, so end of the school year, right before Christmas holiday, end of the middle of benchmark before you begin end of year testing, and then end of the school year. You have checkboxes again, so you're checking if the benchmark was met. The data shows that benchmark was met, everything is, all of the data points are where they need to be, you're no longer concerned. The interventions are discontinued, and the student will be monitored until the next benchmark. X out of that one. Let's say that there was growth, but they've not yet met the benchmark, then the interventions would continue. Click off of that one. Let's say there was no growth, then the next time around there would be a different intervention in this block. If that's a commonality for a large number of your students, that there is no growth for students that are doing this intervention, then that would be a conversation as a grade level to shift this intervention piece. If it's the same intervention piece for all students, then you would copy and paste this for middle of the year, and I will talk more with the interventionists about what this piece looks like. You can see that these are the strategies that are recommended to families. Likely you're going to be clicking all of them, and again they're checkboxes, so ensure on time and consistent attendance, modeling the importance of reading at home, etc. I'm not going to read through all of them, but pretty standard on what you're encouraging parents to do at home. The last piece of this is the Read at Home plan, and so these are the home reading resources provided. Parents will receive a Read at Home plan, which is those kind of different activities that are K1 or 2-3 related to the area that their student struggles in. If they're receiving books every week or every night for at-home reading, then you can check this box. There's a page within the Read at Home plan talking about the Michigan Electronic Library, so you can click that box. If your school has parent or guardian workshops, then that would be something to click. Checking into the Great Cert Collaborative and their Parent Academy would be something, if you have information about that and you're giving it to parents, again, that box can be checked. If there's a summer reading program and you're giving them information about it, check the box. Any other resources, check the box. I'm going to uncheck these so I can save this document. This is where the parent signs it once they've understood these pieces and generally what the student's needs are and their strengths, and then that date at the bottom. So this is the secondary document. Likely many schools will have title interventionist teams be completing these pieces of the IRIPs and then giving you those copies to attach to your already printed IRIPs. The middle of the year and the end of the year will be some decision making based on whether or not those students are growing, and that will be something that's discussed in grade level meetings at those next benchmarks with the next piece of data when you're analyzing the end of the year, or when you're analyzing the benchmark data. These will be things, whether or not you're trying a different intervention or continuing with the current intervention, those will be conversations that will be had. But this is the second part of the IRIP that is attached to the one that you printed out. I'm going to save this. I'm not going to open up each one, but you can see that there is a document for phonological awareness, phonics, and fluency. Phonics and fluency, vocabulary comprehension and fluency. If you find that you're doing just a vocabulary intervention or just a phonological awareness intervention or just a fluency intervention, then obviously you can kind of adjust those as needed in your title teams. I'm going to show you one more thing and then we will be done. Within each folder as well, and this will likely be in kind of the main folder, there will be read at home plans. I will connect with the title teams to make sure that that's a place you know where you're getting them from and they have a process to do that. But I will kind of pretend it's middle of the year and talk about the next steps. So if it's middle of the year, the next steps are reopening your data. So that's your Excel document. You will be then inputting data. I'm going to move this here. There we go. Again, you're looking for that dark column. You're inputting data. Again, I'm just going to put dates that are far in advance here. You can see the parent contact. Maybe you mailed them the letter again or sent the letter home again. Team members present. I can go back to the beginning and I can copy because the same people are going to be there. So once I Control C, I can go down, Control V, pastes, and then I have composite score. And I've just got a few random numbers here. And you're inputting data, same as the NWA score. Even if the student made benchmark, because these scores are technically making benchmark in the middle of the year, you still want to complete this in order to show the growth and to continually be mindful of the differentiated Tier 1 instruction that you're providing. So obviously something is working on what you're doing, and that is something that you want to continue in the classroom. So I think we said BAS, let's say they are now at a G and the benchmark for middle of the year was G. You didn't do the extensive assessment because you've been progress monitoring that piece. So NA. Your instructional focus may still be on phonics. Maybe it's shifted to comprehension. So you might be focusing your Tier 1 instruction, your differentiated Tier 1 instructional strategies on comprehension. So that's just a piece to be mindful of, that this might shift. You're not getting an additional intervention piece if they met the benchmarks, but you still, with all of your students, you're still differentiating instruction, even your students that aren't Tier 2 or Tier 3. And that's differentiating. That differentiating can happen based on interests, levels, specific needs. Even if the needs are beyond, above Tier 2 and Tier 3, they're Tier 1 needs, you're still differentiating that instruction. So let's say shifted to a comprehension need, you may then be putting comprehension goals, asking and answering questions about key details in a text, whether it's informational or literature. And then let's say we're still having a fluency goal, because we still want to keep that in mind. Again, you're talking about which differentiated research supported instructional practices you're using. So comprehension, you're describing and modeling those comprehension strategies, and fluency, you're likely probably including opportunities for repeated reading or maybe echo reading. Again, you've got to the dark column, you stop, you save the data, X out, you pull back up the template, not your beginning of the year IRIPs, but your template. Once you pull it up, again, yes, you want the data to be placed in that document. Remember, it's mailings. Let me move my camera down here again. And you finish and merge, edit those documents. Yes, you want all. And again, as you can see, it is now embedded not only the beginning of the year data, but also the middle of the year data. And you can see that you'll still, again, have to put classroom observation data, even if the student mastered their or met their benchmarks. You still want to say what you're noting. You still want to include the data if there are any issues that you're concerned about, what strengths and needs the child is exhibiting, if the parent had any concerns, and then you know that you have still differentiated Tier 1 instruction. You would again file save as, and this time you would save it likely as MOY IRIPs. So that is how to complete the IRIPs for mail merge. Thank you for listening. Any questions, please feel free to reach out and contact me, and I will be in constant communication with your admin. Thank you so much.